All right, good morning, everyone. We're at the Emergency Operations Center this morning to provide another update on this difficult and historic flooding that has hit so many different parts of Kentucky. Unfortunately, we have some more tough news to share. Since our update yesterday morning, we've confirmed 2 more deaths, bringing our total to 4 individuals, 4 children of God lost to this flooding. The latest losses include a 27-year-old McCracken County man who was initially reported as missing and a 65-year-old Trigg County man. Please pray for their families. If you know them, please lend your help. Brittany and I are certainly praying for and thinking about them and their community. Search and rescue teams continue to save lives. This week, we've had 2 rescues here in Frankfort by boat. 67 individuals were evacuated by boat from a hotel in Louisville. Overall, we've seen 142 rescues, 272 evacuations by boat, 87 boats in use. Again, the biggest concern that we have right now are cars driving through water, are people going around barricades. I just saw a news story about another rescue that had to occur because someone drove around barricades. When you do that, you not only put your life in danger, you put the lives of everybody who's coming to rescue you in danger. We need people to wait this out. In many places, we've seen the rivers crest and the flooding will be going down. So please do not drive through either standing or running water. Turn around, don't drown. So as we're looking at where we are in the flooding here in Frankfort, the water is crested and is slowly starting to recede. We certainly hope by the end of tomorrow, most people will be able to get back in their homes. Water was fully restored, the means of pumping water here in Frankfort last night. So an incredible job by the Frankfort Plant Board in getting everything back up and running. To everybody who is conserving, including my family, thank you for what you've done. So now water here in Frankfort and the surrounding areas is fine. Wastewater is going to take some more time to fully get back up and online. As the worst of the flooding has occurred here and many other areas, we're starting to move teams, especially to the west. The Green River hasn't crested yet, so still having teams there. But down the Ohio River in Henderson and Owensboro, even into next week, we're looking at some flooding and significant flooding. So making sure that we take those assets, those swift water teams, and have them in place for anyone who's going to need help. So right now, Maryland Task Force members are headed to Henderson. They may look at evacuation starting tomorrow in Henderson, and certainly we'll be moving more resources in that direction. For those still facing challenges, the Disaster Distress Helpline, 800-985-5990. That is a 24/7 hotline that you can call for confidential crisis counseling and emotional support resources for survivors, responders, and anyone struggling with distress or mental health concerns related to any natural or human caused disaster. And for the folks answering the call and volunteering, let's remember that this is dangerous work. If you're out there cleaning the roads, if you're out there helping people out, it's tough and it can take a toll on you. This number is there for you as well. Also, remember, whether it's the transportation cabinet or others that are out there doing good work, make sure that you give them a wide berth. Protect them around the roadways and everywhere else. Safety ought to be one of our #1 priorities. As we look at our weather update, the heavy rain has ended. Water's receding in many areas, but keep in mind, not all rivers have crested yet. So we need everybody to stay alert and watch for high water. It also looks like over the next couple days, we could potentially get about a ½ an inch more of rain. We don't believe that will cause any additional flooding, but it may mean that the water going down takes just a little bit longer. So as I said earlier, 4 fatalities, 1 in Franklin, 1 in McCracken, 1 in Nelson, 1 in Trigg. 2,000, let's see, what's our power outage as we're here right now? 2,000 380 is as of this very moment without power. Our utilities, both water and power, have done a phenomenal job for this widespread of flooding. The numbers have not gotten high really at any given point. So thank you to all our utilities and everybody who works for them. We've got only 868 connections right now statewide that are without water entirely. We have 22 utilities under limited operations, one that is non-operational, 397 fully operational. We have a boiled water advisory to about 4,000 Kentuckians. Wastewater, we have 5 that are not operational. Frankfort is the biggest. Plants are being evaluated today. 29 are on limited operation. As we look at shelters, we've got 52 shelters that we know of open across the Commonwealth. We have 35 households that are being sheltered at this time. If you look at the slide that just went up, shows you the great work that United Way and Airbnb are doing, as well as the American Red Cross. And then we've got more independent shelters than this. These are churches and other places that open their doors. We just may not know about them. That gives you an idea of the number of families that are being helped. We do expect that to potentially increase as those staying with family or friends look for options for the coming days. Those with non-life-threatening needs can call our emergency management hotline. I think it just rang. That's 502-607-6665, or you can visit kym.ky.gov. Currently, National Guard, 357 soldiers and airmen are mobilized to conduct missions with our emergency management partners. That's going to go down to the 200s probably by the end of today. That's both because we have many in the east for the February flooding that are able to come off mission now. They've been there since mid-February, as well as having had National Guard staged in some areas that either did not flood or their services are no longer needed. Still, a significant number of Guard that are out there that are repositioning their teams, that have aircraft ready to go if needed, and we're grateful for their service during just this most recent natural disaster, as well as all the others that we've endured. Kentucky State Police telecommunicators have now answered 18,897 calls for service, and troopers continue to assist local law enforcement doing extra night patrols, making sure that people aren't just safe but can feel safe during this period of time. To report a missing person, please call your local Kentucky State Police post. I don't think we have any additional reports of missing people at this time. Transportation, working really hard on our state roads and highways. We're now down to 457 that are closed. 440 are by high water, 17 are by mud or rock slides, but many county and city roads are still flooded. A majority of impacts are in western Kentucky and the north central river basins. Again, not all rivers have crested, and where they have, it's going to take a while for the water to come down. So you are still in danger if you drive through water. I think this is the 3rd time I've said it since we started. Please do not drive through water and never go around those barricades, because oftentimes when folks are going around the barricades, they pull them open, and that means that not only are they putting their lives in danger and those that have to rescue them, their lives in danger, but the next person who's driving up without a barricade there might not know of that danger. So please turn around, don't drown. That's the number one thing that we need to ask people to do to protect themselves. Number 2 is realize the cleanup can be as dangerous as the flood. Make sure if you're doing this work that you have your tetanus shot. Know that there can be gasoline or other things in that water. Know that mold can be significant and spread very quickly after this. So make sure you read up on how to properly clean your home. Make sure you have the right type of masks and other materials you need. We don't want to lose anyone in the cleanup, and sadly in the past, we have lost some really great Kentuckians that are out there, doing their best to try to help people. We want to make sure that everybody helping their neighbor or helping to clean up their own home is safe. When you're looking at traveling, go ky.ky.gov can give you the information that you need. State parks. General Butler State Park is sheltering 112 people. From previous floods, Kentucky State Parks are also sheltering another 106 people. That's at Buckhorn, Jenny Wiley, and Natural Bridge. The Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund is open. It's closing in on $1 million donated for the February flooding, as well as this one. This is a fund we can keep open to help people who've been impacted by this severe weather. It received about $20,000 more after yesterday. Remember, the first thing we'll do with that fund is to pay for funerals, and we've got 4 more families, sadly, that are going to need those services, but we'll grieve with them. We'll carry some of that grief if they'll let us, and we'll make sure we support them in the days and the weeks and the years to come. I'm going to turn it over to Director Gibson. We'll then hear from Secretary Gray, as well as Jeremy Slinker from FEMA.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Governor, for the updates on all the things that you're talking about and for just keeping us in the loop on all the things that we can share with the citizens of the Commonwealth. The important news here is we do stand ready to assist, and that's what we talk about every morning on these briefs, to make sure that anyone that tunes in knows that the Commonwealth is here to assist you. We have resources available for Swiftwater. We have resources available for needed commodities and the things that our citizens and communities may need. So we are here. Obviously, we're in full operation mode in the Emergency Operations Center. And as I look down the list, we're starting to move these resources to the west as the rivers out west continue to rise. And we know that we have an increasing situation out there. Many of our part of our state is now starting to see the water begin to recede. And I know people are anxious to get back to their homes. And as we talk about that, that means people will be traveling the roadways, trying to make their way into their neighborhood, into their community. And we continue to talk about those flooded roadways. Just because the road used to be there, if the water's inundated that roadway, it doesn't mean that it's still safe to drive on. So don't take chances. Those are the things that we're starting to get calls on, people that are getting into trouble because of that standing water on roadways, and we're having to do some additional rescues overnight because of those actions. So I know everybody's anxious to get back home. I know you want to see what your condition of your property looks like, but I can't say it enough, following on what the governor said. And we can't say it in a way that means any more than turn around and don't drown. Don't get yourself in a dangerous situation on driving through those roads. But we continue to see that happen, and we continue to remind you all about that, just because that creates extra work for the first responders that are helping others, but also you put yourself in peril. And we've seen some fatalities for those type of incidents over every event. And as we look back through the history books, those events were going on in the other floods, and they're still going on in this one. So we continue to message that important thing is about, I know people are anxious to get home. They're anxious to see what happened to their property, and we want to make sure that we're talking that safety through. But just know that the Emergency Operations Center is prepared to help. We will do what we can to get the assistance that your community needs to start this recovery. And I'm starting to get all the calls about how can I get assistance as the water's receding and they see that they need to muck out their homes. They need to try to restore, whatever they need to save of their family heirlooms and all their possessions and all those things that are going on. And we're talking about FEMA assistance and declarations. And many of our local officials from across the communities are starting to ask those questions. And I want to make sure we're able to address that this morning as we're doing our initial assessments on those properties that are now starting to see the water recede. Make sure if you're doing your own home that you're documenting that in case one of the local officials show up to get those pictures. You've got damages of the photos of the damage that occurred at your property. Make sure that we can properly document all the things that you've had to deal with over the several last few days. As those officials will be coming around over the next few days, we're going to do a hasty inspection to try to get this declaration submitted as quickly as we can to the president. And then those declarations, those assessments will continue for many more days beyond that. So just because we start doing these, if we don't get to your house, that doesn't mean you won't be included. There's just a process to get the assistance turned on quickly. Those clean and sanitize dollars that you so much need, the rental assistance and things that's going to help us start recovering quickly from this disaster are so important. And there's a process to get those things done. And we're beginning that phase now where the water has started to recede and it's safe for our workers to get into those communities and begin those assessments. So you will see teams from Kentucky Emergency Management coupled up with FEMA going into those communities to make those initial hasty assessments. They probably won't stay long at your place. It'll be a quick photograph, a quick conversation, and moving on to the next. We have hundreds and hundreds of homes across many, many counties to cover. We're going to start out getting those done even today, beginning today, tomorrow, and then through the end of the week. We're going to try to get as many of those as done as we can so we can get a proper declaration request in to get the aid that you all need in your communities. And that's really the recovery phase kicking off and beginning for this declaration. We're under the current emergency declaration, and that's why FEMA's in town helping us now with their urban search and rescue missions and those things. But the calls that I'm getting now are, how can I get assistance? What can I do to move forward with my recovery? And I want to make sure I'm giving that information out to everyone, that we are working that process very quickly to make sure that we get your requests in by the counties so we can get assistance coming into your community as quickly as possible. We stand ready to help here at the Emergency Operations Center. We have plenty of staff on hand. We have plenty of commodities available, and we have water teams. If you continue to see issues in your community, please send the request in, and we'll do our very best to get them answered as quickly as possible. And thank you very much for all you've been doing to take care of your communities.
I'm going to add on to that. Yes, sir. To add on to Director Gibson, we will be applying to the president for individual assistance. That's where individuals can go in, apply with FEMA to get dollars to help them recover. There's an initial set of dollars that are cleaning supplies and immediate needs, and then there's a larger set. To apply for it, we have to have enough information and enough evidence so that the president can then sign off on it. That's what we're collecting right now, and we're going to get it in as quickly as we can. We're prioritizing this application in a way that's never been done, at least here before. We're going to do it before we even apply for public assistance that can help counties or the state. And when we apply for it, and this is the way it always does, we'll start with a certain set of counties where we have the most information. And then we will apply to add other counties. So I want to get out in front of this. If your county isn't in the initial application, but it's been hit, I'm telling you, it will be in the subsequent amendments, which come pretty quickly after the initial application. But getting it in and getting some of our counties approved for individual assistance is an important way to start that process. So we're on it. I certainly believe there's enough damage in a number of our counties to qualify for it. We've just got to make sure that we gather the right information that's put in front of Secretary Noem and President Trump so that they can evaluate it and hopefully sign off on it. I'll turn it over to Secretary Gray.
So as we've already heard, this is an unprecedented event. I want to emphasize that. So please make safe choices. Our highway crews are still responding to high water, cleaning debris, repairing broken pavement and road breaks where they can, especially, of course, in Western Kentucky districts. So please keep them and yourself safe. Avoid traveling to look at flood damage or unnecessary travel. Stay out of floodwaters. Do not pass barricades. Never move barricades or signs. It's dangerous for you and others. You heard the governor say it 3 times. You heard the director say it once. I'll say it 5th time. Turn around. Don't drown. Now, what do we know? As of now, as the governor said, 457 state highways remain closed, 17 of those by slides, with major routes impacted. Now, for real-time information on road closures, James, I think you've got this slide. Please go online to goky.ky.gov. The Western Kentucky Parkway in Hardin County is open now at exit 124. Now, we're using the ramps at exit 124 to put traffic up and over the flooded conditions. So now the only major interstate or parkway closure in effect is I-69 at Dawson Springs. Now there is damage, especially in districts, our districts, that's transportation districts in Western Kentucky, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including Jefferson, and the Jefferson County areas, the counties around it, more than we had, of course, in February. The damage includes visible damage to pavement that's peeled away, undermined embankments, bridges that are still underwater, and at least 10 as of last night. Crews will continue inspecting bridges and roads today while monitoring the high water conditions, placing barricades, delivering water and supplies, helping detour traffic, and making repairs where they can. Now, we know there are potholes and other issues. Our crews are working diligently, vigorously to get to those as soon as they can while keeping up with the flood response. We appreciate your patience. The governor said it's far from over, but you can be assured that we will stay with you, dedicated to repairing and reopening the roads. I want to thank the members of our crews, the Transportation Cabinet, the Department of Highways, especially those in support positions, those on the front line, of course, but also those in support positions, like right here at the EOC, right here from the Transportation Cabinet at EOC. Governor? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hey, thanks, Secretary and Governor. The first thing I'll say is you've heard, we've been here, FEMA has been here since the day the doors opened on the Emergency Operations Center. And we have brought the expertise in. You've heard about our urban search and rescue teams that have come and supported that local and state effort in saving lives. But as well, we have incident management assistance teams, got 2 of those on station, as well as a number of other staff, along with some federal partners like the United States Corps of Engineers and the EPA that are here. We're dealing with large amounts of water, a lot of flooding. Those are our federal partners that know that better than anybody. So the number one thing we're doing, we're making sure the Commonwealth and Kentucky Emergency Management knows what resources the federal government has to bring to bear, and making sure they're on the table. And as they're requested, we stand ready to support. We will continue to support Kentucky and the Commonwealth and emergency management, and that support flows through them down to the local emergency management offices and the local officials. We will continue doing that throughout this first phase of life saving. Also, as been mentioned by Director Gibson and the governor, we will be moving to those latter phases as we move into recovery. We also are building that bench to be ready to support that as well. FEMA will be agile, will be flexible, as this is a large and vast event across the state. Secretary Gray used the word unprecedented, and every time I come to this podium, we have an adjective to put in front of a disaster. I hate to hear that, but FEMA will stand ready to support whatever that adjective is. We'll be standing ready to support that as well. I will take a moment to just back up to our last disaster, which is less than 2 months old. And for safety reasons and to not be a distraction to those life-saving efforts, we paused some events. Director Gibson and I spent a lot of time talking about that. We know how important those decisions are, but we found that right spot. But just know you will be receiving messages coming out that those operations will be fully operating tomorrow morning as was. So a lot of messaging will be coming out about that. But if you've been looking for that or waiting on that, know that the previous disaster operations will get back in high gear tomorrow. And we strongly encourage you to watch for that communications and utilize those. And lastly, I'll just close. FEMA has a great team here, and we're going to continue to support the Commonwealth, and we're honored to be a part of this Team Kentucky. And so when the Commonwealth asks, we're going to support. And thank you. And I will close with this. Heed the warnings and cautions by what you heard today, as well as your local officials. They care about you. They're trying to keep you safe. FEMA wants you to be safe. So they're telling you how to do it. FEMA and FEMA staff are listening to them. I strongly encourage you to do so as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you to everyone in FEMA that's joined us, and as well as those that are still in Eastern Kentucky from the February floods. These are some of the best operations that I've seen out of FEMA, and we've had to see a lot of operations out of FEMA, but a lot of lessons learned from the past, a lot of great improvements, and a lot of compliments coming in from areas even when people have been through some really difficult times. I think we've got a short video that'll show some of the flooding, and then we'll take questions. Yeah, that was a minute ago, the library that Brittany and I go to, almost halfway underwater. These are the AT&T workers. They have so much of the infrastructure that helps us during emergencies. They had to not only move it up in the building, but are continually pumping out the water sewer. And this is right downtown. This gentleman has lived in this house, as have about 5 generations of his family. This is Franklin County that set up a shelter and are really helping a lot of people. Had people mainly coming in the evenings, but of course our public schools and our educators always are there to answer the call, to open up and to help. As you can see, not only did they have one side with cots for anybody who needs it, but they also had a medical side. Red Cross is operating that shelter and doing a great job. Good. Okay, we'll open it up to questions. We have 4 journalists. We'll start with Karen Czar.
Thank you, Governor. Jeremy, since FEMA already has offices open and boots on the ground from storms in February for people to come in and apply for aid, how will the transition work into helping people with this storm? Will you be able to go straight into assistance? Will you need to reopen new facilities? How will that work? Thank you.
I had a conversation with FEMA early this morning. They're already making preparations, even though we haven't submitted the application, and making preparations in the case that the president signs that declaration. So they are really putting in the work ahead of time. Also talking with the Kentuckians here and some local leaders to find the very best places. Remember, this flood hit statewide. There are some areas that overlap with the February flooding. Thankfully, some of those areas were spared as well. This is going to be geographically a need for disaster recovery centers all over the state. But I'm confident after hearing about their planning that they're going to be good locations and they're going to be ready to go as soon as the president signs that declaration or as shortly thereafter. But this is some of the best pre-planning I've seen on the FEMA side, and we're grateful for it. Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everybody. I know it's going to take a little while yet before you're able to submit. But is there a timetable when you're going to get that the initial assessments turned in? And secondly, I assume you're planning on there being more than 16 counties covered by the disaster declaration once it's made.
I expect that we will have more than 16 counties that ultimately qualify for individual assistance, provided the president signs off on that application, signs that declaration. Now, we will start with a smaller number of counties that we know have reached the threshold where it's easier for the president to be able to look through and Secretary Noem and see that all those conditions are met. We've seen in the past that's the fastest way to move through the process and then to ultimately add on to it. So I can't tell you the number of initial counties that we'll apply for, but to everybody out there that might not be in that initial batch, we are working with your officials. This is the process. We'll work it through. We want as many counties to potentially qualify as possible. Carolina from WLEX.
Good morning. Governor, you guys spoke about federal assistance a bit this morning. You know, there are a lot of people out there that are just unsure about what their next steps should be as they're waiting for all of these declarations to be made and whatnot. Can you go over what you guys are expecting of the flood victims? What should they be doing in the meantime?
Well, the first thing they should be doing is making sure they have a safe, dry place to stay over the next couple of days as the water goes down, and being safe in that if they can't get to their home without driving through water, just waiting those extra days. And I know that's got to be hard if that's your home and you can't get into it and you're displaced, but we want you to be safe. And remember, even as much as we love our stuff, and sometimes it's memories and photographs that are impacted, it's our lives and the lives of our family and friends that matter. the most. So what flood survivors ought to be doing right now is documenting, and documenting as many pictures as you can, everything down to, if you can, the serial numbers of the appliances that may have been ruined or destroyed. I want people to be careful if they can get back in their house and they start mucking out, keep the receipts of the different cleaning equipment that you bought. But no, the more information you have, the more you document, the easier the FEMA process will ultimately be. The less that you document, the harder that it will be. Well, we hope to continue to push out updates, and we hope that it won't take too long once we submit the disaster declaration. But this is a process, and Homeland Security and the president have to go through that process. So our goal is to submit the best application we can so that hopefully the turnaround time isn't that long. But I'll say this, after we got the yes to individual assistance for the East, it was just a matter of days before disaster recovery centers were open, were staffed, and money was flowing in Eastern Kentucky for those February floods as quickly as I've seen, and the fewest number of complaints that I've seen. And that's in the end how you hear when you're governor. You don't necessarily hear about all the successes, but the numbers that have come out are really positive from that event. And I hope we'll see the same after this one. Sylvia Goodman with our last question, Kentucky Public Radio.
Good morning, Governor. I have a question about the emergency funding cap that the legislature put on. I'm sure you all are still tallying the damage right now and still spending, but do you have any concerns about that at this moment? Obviously, the legislature did expand it to the biennium this session, but do you think that that will stand up for the rest of the year until they come back into session?
No, the money that for the first time in history, the General Assembly put a cap on responding to emergencies. You know, we have $3+ billion in a rainy day fund, and these were rainy days. But for the first time ever, they said, no, we're not going to let you do what you need to do to respond. We're going to put a hard cap on it. We're going to hit that hard cap before the end of the biennium, and we're going to need additional assistance. The fact that we were going to have a special session just for a legislature to say, yes, you can help people, you know, that's silly. In the end, what does it cost to protect our people from a natural disaster? It costs what it costs. And as a Commonwealth, we ought to be there for our people each and every time. Now, we've been fully transparent. We've testified about the cost of everything in the past. It's fully open to open records. It's as transparent as it can be. The only question here is, are we going to have the authority to help our people or not? So my hope is this is the last budget that we see this in. You know, we try to be as wise as we can on what we spend. But listen, if people are going to run out of water, we're going to run pallets of water to them. If we drop too much water, we'll go and pick it back up. But we don't want anybody going thirsty. We don't want a community to get hit by water and there not to be a swift water team that's there. I mean, the reason that we have fewer lost lives in this one and in the flooding in February that could have taken more is we're able to pre-position assets. That takes money. That takes planning, but it saves lives. So yes, we'll hit that cap and we'll have to see where we go from there. All right. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody here in the EOC. I'm surrounded by 100+ people that have been working, at least 5 straight days. Grateful to them. Know there are EOCs and emergency operations in each of these counties that are out there. Thank you to them. Thank you to the news for continuing to tell our story and the meteorologists that help prepare us. Thank you to the National Weather Service for the good work that they do. And to all of our Kentucky residents, you're going to get our very best. You're going to get our very best. Nobody should have to go through this. We'll be there each step of the way. It won't be easy. It'll probably be frustrating, but we'll work with you to get the best result we can. Thank y'all.